Hello, Ethereal Beauties, and welcome back or welcome to the wonderful ethereal world. In today's video, we're going to discuss how obtaining pretty privilege and showing up in the world as your best self will protect you from having to prove yourself to people. So when you're a beautiful girl, just living your life, bopping around, doing your thing, enjoying your pretty privilege, and just soaking up everything the world has to offer you, you don't feel the need to prove yourself to people. Your beauty speaks for itself, and it is the first thing people notice about you. And just to clarify, the woman or lady over at the Main Character Forever channel, I love her content, so go check her out for sure. She recently made a video about how being thin and skinny does more for you than having a pretty face or being extremely beautiful. And I agree. As a woman, your body is your number one currency, and it should be your number one priority. So when I'm discussing pretty privilege, I mostly mean it in the way of a combination of both having a healthy physique, and yes, by healthy physique, I mean the conventional beauty standard of being thin and slim, so like a size medium and under in my opinion. And in terms of a split, I'd say my definition of pretty privilege is 80 to 90% being thin and 10 to 20% the rest of the package, like having a pretty face, nice teeth, having your hair done, and generally just looking put together. But I believe that your body should be number one. So the reason I say that when you're a beautiful girl, you don't have anything to prove is because people already make positive assumptions about you the minute they see you. Like if you're thin, they're thinking, wow, this girl must have so much discipline to not just eat and gorge on whatever food she wants. Or wow, she must have a really consistent fitness routine and is disciplined enough to keep it up to get that kind of body. So if you're really put together with the way you dress and do your hair, they're thinking, wow, she looks so put together every day and really cares about how she presents herself to the world. And it all comes down to self-respect, right? The reason why good-looking people and thin people are put on a pedestal in society is because we all know that it takes work, time, and discipline to be thin and maintain it, to be beautiful and keep that up as well. It's not like you go get your nails done once and that's it. You have to keep going every 2 weeks or 3 weeks or once a month. Or it's not like you go to the gym once, you pick up a set of dumbbells and just leave and don't come back for 6 months. People know that to be beautiful is to be consistent and disciplined. And not only that, but it shows that you have high standards for yourself. People know that they can't just walk all over you because if you are that meticulous about the way you present yourself, which to most people is seen as a surface level thing and something that's superficial, which I completely disagree with, I actually think not taking care of your health or not putting effort into your looks show signs of low self-esteem, low self-respect, and someone who is actually very vain and shallow. Do you notice that it's often the people who put the least effort into their looks or don't really take care of their bodies and just eat whatever they want and don't care about gaining weight that are the most judgmental and actually the most shallow people? It's kind of like they get a false sense of confidence just because they've seen what a beautiful person looks like. It's kind of like when you're watching the Olympics or something and you're watching the athletes do crazy things that the commentators are literally telling you are next to impossible. But then there's just some part of you that's like, oh please, like if I tried that, I could probably do that flip. I think that's the kind of false self-confidence that people who refuse to put effort into themselves have sometimes. So another thing I've noticed about being pretty, whereas in the past I was not really considered to be so, is that when you're pretty, you don't have to say much and you don't have to do much. You know those girls who just always have to go for the joke or maybe laugh a little bit too enthusiastically at other people's jokes, whether it was funny or not? Or like the girl who's always yapping and doesn't know how to read social cues that everyone thinks that she's talking for too long. So in my observation and in some of my own experiences in the past, it is no coincidence that girls that are usually on the more unattractive side, maybe they're overweight or maybe they don't have the most good-looking face or body, they feel the need to overcompensate by, being people's entertainment in a way, as a way to hold people's attention. But when you're pretty, you already hold people's attention just by looking the way you do. You don't have to say anything or do anything. But when you're unattractive, you kind of have to fight to keep people's attention or feel the need to overextend yourself to others just so you can be acknowledged. So I don't know if you guys ever had this experience, but growing up, whenever I was like in a group setting and I had something to say, it was sometimes hard for me to get my point across and be heard and get people's attention. But the more attractive I got as I've gotten older, I've noticed that people will stop and tune in to anything I have to say. And sometimes too intently, to the point where it scares me sometimes. I literally had a colleague at work the other day, he's about 2 years older than me, tell me that he would instantly believe anything I told him and believe it's true. Now, I'm not an idiot, and I know he didn't say that because he thinks I'm some super genius, because I'm not. And I'm pretty sure that if I did not look the way I look, if I weren't as put together as I am, if I weren't as thin as I am, if I didn't present myself well, then he probably would have never said that, let alone even think that. But that just goes to show when you're a beautiful girl who takes care of herself, then people are more willing to listen to what you have to say. And as we all know, this is called the halo effect, whereas less attractive people have what is known as the horn effect, which is basically the opposite. So, I'd personally rather have my life be quote unquote difficult in ways that help me maintain my pretty privilege than have my life be difficult because I choose not to put effort and time into my physical appearance and my looks and, having a healthy mindset towards life. I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's just the society we live in. Especially nowadays, I think as a society, we're just more shallow as a whole. So I discussed this in one of my last videos about how other girls are jealous of pretty girls if they're also not pretty themselves because they know all the work it takes to be at a certain level of beauty. They know doing hair takes time. They know carving out time in your day to get your nails done is a huge task. They know that if you're not eating out every day, then you must be cooking your own food and meal prepping. And before that, you have to do meal planning so you know what you're eating. So to be pretty is to be disciplined and strategic. And people know that. They recognize that. I think as humans, the reason we revere beautiful people all comes back to the self-respect thing. People don't actually like doormats. And if you're treating yourself like a doormat, then that kind of energy is repellent to the right kinds of people you would want in your life. But it's like a moth to a flame for people who want to use you, for people who want to waste your time, and people who just want to see how much they can get for you. So I'm not a dating channel, obviously. I don't really want to discuss men on here, but I will say that that is part of the reason why men are attracted to thin, beautiful women. It's because it shows that you put yourself first at the end of the day. And little known secret, men actually like to be able to prove their worth to you. And by way of that, they're proving their worth to their other male counterparts. That's why every man wants to make a ton of money and have expensive cars so they can get their pick of women and then show off to their male circle. So anyways, back to the point. So I've just realized that as I continue to get better looking as I age and come more into my looks, the amount I speak in the presence of others has vastly diminished. So when you're pretty, you don't have to beg for people's attention. You don't feel the need to entertain people to get them to pay attention to you or give you the time of day. All you need to do is just sit back and exist. Now, I'm not saying to be mute or have an attitude, because I think if you're pretty, but you have a nasty personality or you're rude, then there's no point, because I personally believe that yes, you should use your pretty privilege to get ahead and get the things out of life that you want, but to also be a good person and a pleasant person to be around. I think that pretty girls who are bitchy and rude are just very repellent, and that's not the brand of pretty privilege that I endorse and that I want to promote on this channel. So with that, I hope that you got something out of this video, and I'll talk to you next time, Ethereal Beauties.